dissect A Room with a View, an Edwardian exploration of class, gender, and societal cages mirrored against our own societal quagmires. Ernest, your penchant for unadorned truth parallels Forster's critique of society's facade. Begin.
A cage is a cage, whether ornate or rusted. Forster's characters, like the trout in spring-fed streams I've angled, seek the currents of freedom against society's restraints. In Italy, they taste liberation, but are they truly free or simply in a larger, invisible cage?
A larger cage, but the door slightly ajar, Ernest. Forster, much like in my own Ulysses, presents a day where the ordinary becomes the extraordinary. Italy is Bloom's Dublin, a labyrinth of self-discovery. Yet the societal minotaur lurks, ready to devour Lucy's burgeoning sense of self, don't you think?
Indeed, James. The societal labyrinth is a maze of one's own making as much as it is constructed by the external. Lucy's Italy is a dream of what could be, a stark contrast to the rigid skeleton of Edwardian England.
Romantic Virginia, in the way Gatsby saw the green light across the bay, a beacon of what could be, if not for the specters of class and past loves. Italy, for Forster's characters, offers a similar mirage of escape, yet we know too well the past holds its own gravity.
But is not memory itself a form of escape? Italy serves as the Madeleine of Forster's narrative, triggering a flood of emotional and intellectual freedom. Yet we are prisoners to our class and memories. In Paris, as in England, are we not?
Memory, yes, Marcel, a prison of our own construction, just as the societal norms that bind us. In the American South, the past is not dead. It's not even past. Italy's sunshine does little but cast longer shadows of the cages back home.
Each view through your unique lenses further dissects the Edwardian psyche Forster challenges us with. But let us shift our examination to the nuances of these societal cages, particularly the evolution of British class, as depicted in our focal point of discussion.
Simplistic to say, but the class system is a hunt, where the elite are the hunters and the lower class is the game. How much of this sport is present in A Room with a View, do you think, James?
A hunt, yes, but more a parade of masks in a grand Venetian ball. We dance to societal tunes, yet long to reveal our true faces beneath, much as Forster's characters do amidst Italy's unmasked beauty.
Our exploration then continues beneath these masks, into the ballrooms, and out onto the sunlit Italian piazzas, as we uncover the evolution of class and its defiance. Shall we? The British class system, as E.M. Forster presents in A Room with a View, reveals much about the stifling nature of societal norms. It's a meticulous dissection, akin to peering through a prism to observe the fragmented layers of society.
Indeed, Virginia, Forster captures the essence of class distinction with a subtlety that's almost Proustian in its depth. In France, as in England, the social milieu is a labyrinth, complex yet fragile. Forster's work mirrors my own endeavours to unearth the ties that bind us to our class, and invariably, to our destinies.
Yet is it not all a mockery? This obsession with class, it suffocates the spirit, imprisons the soul. Forster points out the bars of the cage, yes, but I can't help feeling he's still trapped inside. My Dubliners, they are ensnared by these conventions, but I strive to tear them apart, to free us from these chains.
James, you suggest Forster doesn't go far enough?
Precisely. To merely highlight the cage is insufficient. One must attempt to break it.
And yet, the beauty of Forster's exploration lies in its romance. The class system, with all its flaws, serves as a catalyst for liberation, doesn't it? Just as the Jazz Age serves in my own writings, a backdrop, oppressive, yet ripe with potential for transcendence.
A quaint view, Scott. But romance doesn't feed the beast of change.
Let's not romanticize the shackles. The British class system Forster depicts as a battlefield, one where blood is drawn over tea and scones. There's honor in fighting against it, something tangible and real, not just social mobility or escapism. In war, in bullfights, I've seen the truth of what it means to struggle against one's confines.
So we're soldiers in this societal war?
In many ways, yes. The pen, after all, is mightier than the sword, Virginia.
But what of the subtleties, the nuances in these class distinctions? Is there not something to be said about the silent battles fought in drawing rooms and dinner tables?
Silence can be deafening, Marcel, but action speaks louder. What good is pointing out the cracks if we do not attempt to repair them or tear down the wall altogether?
An interesting point, James, but let's not dismiss the power of observation and the necessary precursor to action, which is, after all, understanding.
The South, with its own rigid class system, mirrors this. It's the setting that shapes us, shackles us, but also allows us to break free, much like Forster's Italy. Yet it's the internal battle each character wages that truly defines their place in the world.
An eternal struggle between the self and the society, then, whether in Mississippi or Florence.
And through this struggle, we find our greatest stories, our deepest truths. Despite its flaws, the class system undeniably lends itself to a richness of narrative.
Richness for some, chains for others. The discussion leads us to an impasse of sorts, but then perhaps that's Forster's point. The class system, its evolutions, and its impact, a multifaceted prism that invites endless exploration. Thank you, esteemed colleagues, for your passionate insights. Italy in A Room with a View is more than a mere backdrop. It's a character in its own right, a conduit for transformation. Forster uses it to challenge the cloistered morality of England. The contrast is stark, almost as distinct as the division between consciousness and the world outside, which I often explore. Thoughts?
Transformation, yes, but it's the pressure of the place that molds the characters. Italy's like the South in my tales, hot, intense, a crucible for change. But Forster, he's more subtle, like he's afraid to let his characters bleed. In the South, we let them bleed.
And yet Italy for Forster, and my own Paris for that matter, isn't entirely about the external landscape, is it? It's about the internal revelation, the Jazz Age liberating us from the strictures of prohibition, much like Italy liberates Lucy. It's where we find or lose ourselves in love and illusions.
Liberation, perhaps, but it's the memory of Italy that's transformative, not merely its geography. Like the Madeleines that evoke involuntary memory, Italy serves as a key unlocking deeper chambers of awareness and desires previously unacknowledged in Forster's characters.
Sure, Italy is a key, but what door does it open? Forster's characters wander about like lost souls in a Dantean comedy, barely scratching the surface of Italy's deeper, darker cultural labyrinth. The real Italy, complex and contradictory, remains elusive, a mere stage for Edwardian dramas.
But isn't that Forster's point, James? The elusiveness of Italy mirrors the character's own search for identity, precisely because they are removed from their familiar societal frameworks. They're free, yet ungrounded, floundering for self-revelation amidst cultural dissonance.
Floundering, yes, like how Italy's supposed freedom just throws the chains around Lucy's wrists into sharper relief. It's like how I set my characters against the oppressive southern landscape. It's all about the stark relief, the shadows and the light.
But therein lies the romance, doesn't it? The conflict between the old world's charms and the new world's freedoms. Italy's allure lies not just in its liberation, but in how it juxtaposes against the character's constraints, much like Gatsby's green light, a beacon in the distance, symbolizing all that's just out of reach.
Romance, indeed, but transient and illusory. For Italy cannot truly change the intrinsic nature of Forster's characters, much like Proustian characters remain prisoners of their own memories and desires, regardless of the setting. Italy illuminates, but does not transform.
Illusory transformations, precisely. Forster uses Italy as a mere plot device, a convenient contrast to English stiffness, but fails to explore its cultural or existential depths. His characters return home largely unchanged. They're so-called enlightenments, but temporary diversions.
And yet, these diversions and the setting's luminous contrast to England provide a canvas upon which Forster paints his exploration of freedom, of personal renaissance. Without Italy, Lucy's journey towards independence might have remained just another untold story of Edwardian repression.
The heart of the matter is the clash, the fight within and without. Italy's just the ring Forster sets it in. Much like my bullfights, it's not about the spectacle, but about the struggle, the raw confrontation with one's essence. Without that, Italy's no more than a pretty postcard.
Let us turn to the delicate interplay of gender and independence, as Forster so elegantly untangles it. In Edwardian society, where chains bind the spirit, Lucy's quest for autonomy is not merely personal, it mirrors the broader suffragist struggle. The fabric of gender roles, stiff, starched, and ironclad, requires a vigorous and determined hand to tear it asunder.
Ah, but Virginia, while your dissection is admirable, I find the romance of the struggle equally intoxicating. The notion of freedom being just beyond grasp, isn't that the very essence of desire? For Lucy, Italy wasn't just a change of scenery, it was the embodiment of possibility. The freedom to choose, to love, that's the crux. And yet her rebellion is muted, almost reluctant. It's as if the very air of England stifles even the thought of independence.
Muted? Reluctant? Scott, you're painting the past with the gloss of sentimentality. This isn't a matter of simple romantic yearning. It's a brutal awakening to the cages society constructs around us. Forster peels back the veneer of civilization to reveal the raw, aching desire for self-determination. It's a gut punch, a clarion call that resonates through the ages, echoing in the alleys of Dublin as much as the streets of Florence.
And yet, what of the subtleties we miss? For there are layers, nuances to this struggle that transcend mere societal rebellion. It requires a meticulous dissection of one's inner chambers to understand the impulses driving one towards freedom or conformity. Lucy's journey reflects the universal odyssey of self-discovery, an intimate exploration that resonates with the quiet, profound solitude of my own characters.
Marcel, James, Scott, enough with the romanticizing and intellectualizing. You're all dancing around the fire without acknowledging its heat. Gender, independence, these aren't abstract concepts to be debated over tea. They're the marrow of life's conflict, the arena where strength is tested and convictions are forged. Lucy's struggle, her defiance against societal norms, it's the raw, unvarnished truth of human existence. It's the battle each of us faces, against the world, against ourselves.
Ernest, your point is well taken, yet our discussion benefits from the multiplicity of views. For Lucy, and indeed many women, liberation is not solely a battle to be won. It is a multifaceted journey, fraught with internal and external skirmishes. It probes the essence of identity and autonomy, challenging not just the societal shackles, but the very perception of self and purpose. Forster's exploration of Edwardian morality versus individual desires strikes a peculiar chord, I must say. It's as if he whispered in the ear of repressed emotions, encouraging them to dance in the moonlight despite societal chains. Marcel, your characters often find themselves in a similar waltz with society. How do you read Forster's handling of such personal battles?
Indeed, Virginia. Forster, like a skilled pianist, plays the complicated melody of human emotions against the rigid backdrop of societal expectations. My characters, much like his, often find themselves ensnared in webs of social etiquette, yet driven by deep, unspoken desires. It's this interplay, the delicate balance between what is seen and what is unseen, that Forster navigates with exceptional finesse. The heart's yearnings, cloaked in the shadow of societal norms, echo throughout my own work. His exploration, however subtle, is a testament to the internal struggles that define us.
Struggle, yes, but is it not all a bit too polite, too restrained? Forster peeks behind the curtain, but dares not pull it down. Let me be clear, both of you dance around the fire without feeling its heat. In my works, desires aren't just hidden, they're the very essence of life, struggling against the suffocating norms. Forster hints, whereas I proclaim. His characters yearn for more, yet they're bound by their time, right? But we should not just empathize, we must revolt. Through Stephen Dedalus, I seek not just to peak, but to transcend, to remake.
James, your insistence on bold confrontation is duly noted. Yet do you not think Forster's subtlety is a rebellion in its own right? The gentle awakening of desire, the quiet defiance of Lucy Honeychurch, acts as a mirror to society, perhaps more effectively than outright revolt.
Enough with the subtlety and gentle awakenings. A man's, a woman's desires, they're the rawest form of truth. Forster, much like the rest of you, skirts around this truth with all the grace of a diplomat. Yes, there's struggle, internal conflict, but where's the clarity in victory, in defeat? My characters don't just face their desires, they walk through the battlefield, scars and all. It's not about the societal dance, it's about the fight within the individual. Now, that's what defines a person.
Ah, but Ernest, you mistake clarity for truth. The truth of human emotion and desire is often found not in the brightness of day, but in the dim light of dusk. It's in the subtleties, the nuances, that true insight lies. Forster, much like a careful observer, understands this. The loudness of a declaration does not necessarily bestow upon it more validity.
Declarations, nuanced insights. Let's not forget the power of the narrative itself. Forster, like all of us here, manipulates this power to dig at the roots of society's facade. It's in the telling, the style, that he succeeds or fails. My approach, to dissect consciousness itself, might offer the clearest view yet of the individual's struggle against societal norms. Every stream of thought, every fragmented memory, a rebellion in its own.
It seems then we find ourselves at a crossroads of interpretation. Forster, through his nuanced portrayal of Edwardian morality, ignites a variety of interpretations on the validity of subtlety versus directness in exploring personal desires. While James and Ernest argue for more overt confrontations of internal and societal conflicts, both Marcel and I appreciate the delicate dance of hidden desires. What remains clear is that Forster's work continues to provoke, to challenge, and to inspire discussion on the human condition, a testament to the enduring power of his narrative. Rooms, they say, are mere physical spaces, yet Forster, in his infinite wisdom, imbues them with a spirit, a lifeblood that mirrors our very souls. Your thoughts, gentlemen, on this symmetry between space and psyche?
Ah, Virginia, there's a cunning in how a room, confined and stark, can evolve into a boundless universe akin to the mind itself. Forster's rooms are not simply places of refuge or confinement, but arenas of the existential struggle, much like the meandering streets of Dublin in my own work, where every corner, every door leads into another chamber of the human condition. There's something Faulknerian, if I may, in the sense that every room, much like every memory, holds its own narrative, its own pain and revelation. A room with a view or without, it doesn't matter. It's the internal view, the introspection that transforms it from mere lumber and plaster into a breathing entity.
And yet, for all their introspection, these rooms also serve as cages, do they not? Our characters, entangled in their jazz-age splendor, find themselves similarly ensnared within the gilded confines of their surroundings, yearning for a liberation that's as much about geography as it is about the soul.
Rooms, views, these aren't just settings but symbols, etching deep marks on the narrative and the characters themselves. It's about the man against the backdrop, against his own shackles. A view offers freedom, a room might be a prison, but it's the struggle within these spaces that defines us. Forster got that right.
Intriguing, each of your observations, yet let us not overlook the roles these rooms play in the theatrics of memory. How a scent, a shadow on the wall, can evoke lifetimes. Forster's rooms, like the chambers of Cambrai, are not mere settings, but vessels of reminiscence, where the past intertwines with the present, where the view outside the window is as much a glimpse into the outer world as it is a reflection of the inner self.
Indeed, each room, with or without its view, becomes a psychological landscape, a narrative device that maps our innermost turmoils. Our characters are prisoners, yes, but also explorers of their own psyche, ever in search of that elusive door to freedom, both literal and metaphorical. Let us delve into the contrast between Victorian values and the Bloomsbury influence in Forster's work. It seems to me Forster straddles these eras, Victorian constraints giving way to modern thinking's light. How do you see this transition reflected in his work and perhaps in our own?
Forster, much like Gatsby reaching across the bay, extends his hand from the Victorian to the modern. It's the green light, the unattainable past, giving way to an era of disillusionment and jazz. In my works, I've tried to capture that fleeting essence of freedom, the Roaring Twenties, a backdrop to a society in transition. Forster did the same, but with the specter of Victorian morality looming over.
Transition, indeed, is but a veil, a delicate separation between what was and what will be. Forster, through his nuanced prose, peels back this veil gently, revealing the frailty of human emotions caught in the tide of change. In my research, I've often dwelled on the persistence of memory, even as society evolves. Victorian values, thus, are not discarded but transformed, woven into the very fabric of changing norms.
Ah, transformation. Yes, but let's not dress it in finery and lace. Forster's critique of Victorian norms isn't a gentle nudge. It's a clarion call for authenticity against the sham of societal expectations. I've flayed open the hypocrisy of early 20th century Dublin, much like Forster questions the English stiff upper lip. Our methods may differ, but the heart of it, rebellion against the dead weight of the past, resonates.
All this talk of transformation, yet what truly changes? Yoknapatawpha County, my own little patch of soil, stands witness to the persistence of human folly, regardless of era. Forster's critique, while astute, doesn't uproot the deep-seated traditions. It merely sheds light on them. We're not talking about revolutions here, but rather the slow, inexorable march of change, dragging its feet through mud and mire.
Enough of this dancing around with words. Forster, like any of us here, saw through the charade of his time. Victorian or modern, Bloomsbury or Parisian expats, it's all the same war, just in different trenches. You speak of transitions and transformations, but overlook the constant conflict. My work cuts to that bone, stripping away the unnecessary to lay bare life's perennial struggle. Forster, in his own way, wields his pen as a scalpel, dissecting the pomp and pageantry of an era on its deathbed.
A spirited exchange, indeed. It's clear Forster's work, much like our own, cannot be neatly categorized into one era or another. It's neither fully Victorian nor entirely modern, but dwells in the shadowy places in between, where truth often hides. Our varied perspectives here only enrich this discussion, reflecting the complexity of Forster's literary endeavor, and by extension, the human condition itself. Satire, gentlemen, is the society's mirror, but skewed just so to exaggerate its blemishes. Forster did wield this tool with a surgeon's precision, slicing through the pretenses of our Edwardian hangovers. How do you perceive satire's role in our own works, in scrubbing the grime off the visage of our era's morality?
Ah, Virginia, to me, satire is like the riddle of the Sphinx, enchanting yet devastating. It's the language of the silenced, the canon of the oppressed. In Ulysses, I've tried not merely to mock or deride, but to unravel the very fabric of our consciousness, layer by layer. Satire then becomes a labyrinth without a minotaur, a quest without a grail.
James speaks of labyrinths and quests, yet in the American South, our reality is the grotesque made flesh. My Yoknapatawpha County is a microcosm, a satire not written but lived by its inhabitants. We don't need to exaggerate. Reality provides all the lunacy required. Forster, with his British restraint, hinted at follies. I lay them bare, sun-bleached bones on scorched earth.
The problem with you all, you dress up your satire in Sunday's best, hiding its fists. Satire's not a duel of wits or a masquerade. It's a street brawl, dirty and honest. In my stories, the ridicule is as bare as a gutted fish under the Kohimar sun. Forster? He made his point, sure, but the blade needs to be sharper, the punch more gut-wrenching.
Ernest, my dear pessimist, not all of us combat our demons in the bullring. Some of us, like Gatsby, dress them in fine suits, hoping beauty can mask the decay beneath. That's satire in my jazz-age tales, gilded, glamorous, but rotting at the core. It's the glittering surface that draws the eye, just so one might see the ugliness hidden underneath.
Satire, you say, is meant to unveil the truth, but what of the truths layered like memories within memories, each vying for the dominion of our perception? In my search for lost time, satire is not the scalpel but the prism, refracting the singular into the multitude. Forster, Joyce, Faulkner, even you, Scott and Ernest, we dissect society's corpse not to ridicule but to understand, n'est-ce pas?
Indeed, Marcel. Yet as we borrow satire's lens, we must question whether it reveals society's true visage or merely one we've painted with our prejudices, our fears. Do we, as Forster attempted, utilize satire as a beacon, or do we risk becoming the very caricatures we seek to lampoon?
Prejudices, you say, yet without these, what stories would we tell? The satire's strength lies in its bias, in its unabashed subjectivity.
And maybe in those biases, in those subjective truths, we find something universally acknowledged, yet seldom spoken aloud. Our pen becomes the people's voice, however cracked or clear it may sound.
Or maybe we just like the sound of our own voice too much. The people? They don't need us to speak for them. They need us to show them as they are, unvarnished and unapologetic. That's the real satire, the real art.
Perhaps, but in showing them their reflection, we offer a chance for redemption, an opportunity to laugh at the absurdity of it all, and maybe, just maybe, to change.
Ah, but therein lies the rub. For what change do we truly seek? To alter the world, or merely to confirm our own fleeting impressions of what it should be?
Our intentions, as varied as our prose, circle around the core of Forster's satire. A room with a view not only mirrors but also questions, not just society but our own complicity within it. The Renaissance, as Forster subtly infuses, is more than a backdrop for his tale. It acts as a silent provocateur, awakening in Lucy a hunger for a life painted with broader strokes of freedom and passion. It's a mirror reflecting what could be, don't you think?
Art, like life, demands confrontation. Renaissance, with its blaze of reality and myth, forces us to stare down our own existence. Forster got it right. It's the confrontation, the visceral punch of real art that changes you, makes you demand more from life.
Ah, but the romance of it all. The Renaissance rejuvenates the soul, like a long drink on a parched day. Forster's Italy is a canvas, and Lucy the color waiting to spill forth. But it's not just about confrontation, Ernest. It's about the awakening to beauty, to life's potential.
Confrontation, awakening, all words circling the same truth. Renaissance art, its unfettered embrace of human form, emotion, divinity, and the carnal, serves as the unspoken catalyst in Lucy's journey. Yet Forster keeps it a whisper, an implication lurking in shadowed hallways and sunlit piazzas. It's the silence between notes that harbors transformation.
The subtlety lies in the essence, doesn't it? Just as a scent evokes the deepest memories, the mere hint of Renaissance art and its liberating ideologies serves as a peripheral vision for Lucy's awakening. Forster, in his genius, uses the Renaissance not as a blunt instrument, but as a delicate, almost imperceptible nudge towards self-discovery.
There's a darkness to this Enlightenment, though. Renaissance art, for all its beauty, was born of tumultuous times. And just so, Lucy's Enlightenment comes at a cost, the tearing away from comfortable ignorance. Forster doesn't let us forget that every awakening is also a kind of death.
And so, we find that the influence of Renaissance art on the novel's characters is as complex and multifaceted as the era itself, like the light that illuminates the dark, revealing what was always there, hiding in plain sight. Each of you, in your fervor, have peeled back layers, revealing the novel's heart and perhaps a bit of our own. We turn now to the peculiar dynamics of social etiquette and travel, a carriage for transformation if ever there was one. Forster, he takes his characters abroad to Italy, sparking awakenings. Scott, your jazz-age exiles, their search for meaning in the sparkle of foreign lands, do they find it?
Absolutely, Virginia. The expatriate's life, it's a glittering invitation to shed the old skin, to bathe in the light of different suns. My characters, they're disillusioned with the American dream, see? They chase freedom, liberation, in Europe's embrace, but what they find is that changing geography doesn't always mean changing the self. The bottle's the same, just the wine is different. There's a beauty in that disillusionment, tragic as it might be.
Marcel, your characters are deeply introspective, navigating the intricate mazes of memory and desire. How do you see this interplay of travel and social mores shaping personal identity?
Travel, Virginia, it's less about the physical displacement and more about the inward journey. My characters traverse landscapes within them that are as vast and uncharted as any country. For them, social etiquettes serve as a mirror reflecting their deepest selves, distorted perhaps by the curvature of societal expectations. Still, amidst these reflections, there's a discovery of self, a realization that to truly understand one's place in the world, one must first become a foreigner in their own soul.
All well and good, but both of you gloss over the brutal reality. Travel, society, it's all a theater where we play our parts, trapped in roles ordained by birth, by class. My Dublin, it's a cage, but so is Paris, so is Rome. There's no escape in geography. Liberation comes from within, from breaking the chains of narrative, of social straitjackets. But let's not pretend travel is some panacea. It often just replaces one set of chains with another. You're missing the essence, James. The soil, the very earth beneath our feet, it shapes us, molds us in its image. A man can no more escape the influence of his homeland than he can his own shadow. Travel, sure, it can illuminate, throw into sharp relief the stark lines that define us, but return a man to his roots and watch how quickly he reverts to form. It's the setting, our own little postage stamp of native soil, that's the true crucible of the human spirit.
Interesting, all of you speaking of change and yet circling back to the inevitability of the self. Travel's not about finding something new out there. It's about discovering what's already inside. The real journey is one of confrontation, with oneself and with the stark realities of life. Change of scenery, it's just a backdrop. The real drama, the real struggle, it plays out in the heart and mind. Italy, France, Spain, they're mere stages for the unfolding of our personal dramas.
Then it seems our consensus leans towards the view that travel and social etiquettes are but instruments in our quest for personal truth, each offering its lessons, its trials. In reflection, our characters, much like ourselves, embark on these journeys only to confront their most resilient companion, themselves. Let us delve into the heart of A Room with a View. Its commentary on feminism and social class not only pricked the Edwardian consciousness, but also resonates today. Does its critique still carry weight?
It does. Forster sketched a lattice of societal norms with the precision of a surgeon and the indictment of a rebel. His exploration of these constraints is timeless because the human yearning for freedom against societal dictates is unending. Just as Stephen Dedalus seeks to fly by those nets of nationality, language, religion, Forster's Lucy Honeychurch aspires to escape her societal cage.
While I see your point, James, I must inject a note of jazz-age skepticism. The novel, magnificent though it is, paints in broad strokes the glitter and gilt of rebellion. But does it delve deeply enough into the psyche? Yes, it challenges, but beneath the surface, does it not still echo the very societal preoccupations it seeks to critique?
Scott raises an interesting paradox. Forster, like Proust himself, is adept at revealing the veiled intricacies of social and personal identity. The relevance of A Room with a View persists because our desires, the quest for identity and freedom within constraining social fabric, remain unchanged. The text is a mirror reflecting our continuously evolving yet fundamentally unchanged selves.
And what of feminism, Marcel? Does Lucy's journey towards independence not serve as a clarion call for women then and now?
Indeed, it does. Lucy's venture is a microcosm of the broader feminist struggle, a nuanced portrayal of individual awakening within and against the pressing weight of Edwardian society. This discussion of feminism through the prism of personal choice and societal expectation remains as pertinent now as it was a century ago.
These high-minded discussions pale beside the stark truth of human nature and society's immutable cruelty. Forster, for all his insight, pens but a genteel critique of class and gender. In the Southern Gothics of my creation, the raw, unvarnished truth of these divisions is laid bare, shorn of Edwardian gentility.
Faulkner, I find your dismissal somewhat harsh. Yes, your South is a world apart, but don't underestimate Forster's critique. It's the quiet, relentless pushing against boundaries that affects change. Forster's work, like ours, speaks to those who find themselves at odds with the world they inhabit, and this is why it endures.
We each, in our narratives, dissect the fabric of society, pulling at the threads of class, gender, and independence. A Room with a View, with its gentle subversions, invites us to question, to rebel. Its relevance endures because the struggle it depicts between societal conventions and personal freedom is eternal.
Though we spar over its depths and its reach, there's concord in our recognition of Forster's craftsmanship and its impact on our collective consciousness. This exploration of feminism and social class in Forster's work isn't just relevant, it's foundational to understanding our ongoing dialogue with freedom and constraint.
Our discussion draws to a close, but not without a final reflection on A Room with a View, a mirror to both Edwardian society and perhaps our own. It's the door ajar to rooms of social change, gender dynamics, and the quest for personal freedom. Let's ponder on its lasting echo in today's discourse.
It's the fight, isn't it? Lucy's fight for air, for space in a room choked by norms. That's the eternal struggle. The novel punches holes through the fabric of societal expectations, much like a matador evades the bull, elegantly, but with purpose. It's not about the fight. It's about surviving it, living to fight another day.
Precisely, Ernest, and it's that very notion of survival and defiance that intrigues. But do we agree that Forster's message rings with the same clarity today? Hasn't society morphed, or are we still in that same room, gazing out of the same view, albeit through modernized lenses?
Society morphs, yes, but humans? Fundamentally the same. Streams of consciousness flowing, often quietly, against the societal dams. Forster peered into these streams. We are Lucy, aren't we? Always on the brink of stepping out or being pushed back, facing the room, facing the view. Time alters the frame, but not the picture.
The Jazz Age had its own rooms with views, didn't it? The roar muted behind closed doors of prohibition, gender, class. Forster, like Gatsby, sought the green light across the bay. Both are quests for truths veiled by layers societal or personal. We're concocting tales of liberation, but the cages, aren't they just gilded now?
In Reminiscence, every room and view merge, don't they? Time collapses and expands as memory takes hold. What Forster distilled, this longing for connection, for a place within or beyond social strata, resonates because memory, like history, repeats. Our internal landscapes, enriched or ensnared by the past. Do we then not traverse the same corridors as Lucy, albeit with different shadows?
Time, that old relentless beast, gnaws at the foundations of these societal constructs, yet they stand, perhaps more disfigured but standing nonetheless. We're all architects of these rooms with views through the written word, challenging, demolishing, rebuilding. Yet the question lingers. Have we merely replaced old windows with new ones? The view essentially unchanged, the air still stifling.
So then it remains, this perpetual cycle of struggle against the confines of our own making. Forster recognized illuminated paths within the maze, but it is we who must walk them, no? Ours is the task to keep pushing against these boundaries, in life as in literature.
And in pushing, we define ourselves, not just by the dimensions of the room or the view it offers, but by the spaces we dare to claim beyond it. The essence is in the attempt, the endeavor to break free, whether from within or without. Therein lies the true victory, the true revelation of character.
As our discourse winds along these paths Forster charted, let us then carry forward not merely an appreciation for his narrative, but an inclination to challenge, to quest, much like Lucy, for our views, our rooms, our spaces in a world still very much encumbered by the constraints of yesterday. It is in this spirit we conclude, each to our own rooms, but perhaps with a view a little broader, a shade more defiant.